Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's make a V-shirt. I prepped the shirt like normal and I have it turned inside out. I'm going to start by centering the shirt, and this process is going to go really fast, but down below in the description for this video is a link to another video which shows how to center a shirt. Essentially what I'm doing is getting both sides or both halves of the front of the shirt right up next to each other, and both sides or halves of the back of the shirt next to each other. That way, whenever I apply the dye to the shirt, the front side of the shirt, both halves of it are going to look more symmetrical, and the same thing with the back. I shouldn't end up with one side or half of the front of the shirt being darker or lighter than the other. Okay, now that the shirt is centered, I'm going to draw the V portion on my shirt. You can make this V as large or small as you want to. I'm using a straight edge and a washable marker and going to draw a diagonal line from the shoulder seam of the shirt down to where I'd like for the bottom of the V to end. Then I'm going to fan fold this line, and I'm going to tie this one with some sinew. I'm choosing to use sinew for this shirt because I'd like a little definition with the V portion. After I tie the initial sinew line, I'm going to tie another sinew line on either side of this one. That's going to give a little bit more design to the V portion of the shirt. I'm going to scrunch the top portion of the shirt and hold the folds in place with some rubber bands, and I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom part of the shirt. To dye the shirt, I placed it on top of a metal rack, and then I've placed the metal shelving rack down inside of a plastic tote or container. I need to make myself an ice barrier, so I'm going to use my silicone cake molds. I'm attaching them together, then I'm going to wrap them around the shirt and use some wooden clothespins, which I'm going to attach to the metal rack to hold the silicone cake molds up close to the shirt. I have a link down below in the description for this video for where I purchased the silicone cake molds. I'm actually doing several shirts right now where I'm using these silicone cake molds, so I don't have enough to go all the way around the shirt. So for the last portion of the shirt, I'm going to use a plastic cutting board, which I purchased from the dollar store, and cut into strips. It's not quite as flexible, but it will work for the portion of the shirt that I'm going to use it on. So I've already added some Chinese red from Dharma to the top scrunch section. The first sinew section, I've added cardinal red from Dharma. And then the next sinew section, I've added midnight blue from Dharma. In the lower scrunch portion, I'm adding ice dye blue from Dye Spin. I'm trying not to add too much dye to this shirt. I added quite a bit to the sinew sections, but to the scrunch portions, I really don't mind if I have some white left on this shirt. It's going to kind of have a patriotic vibe to it with the red and the blue. Now I'm adding some additional soda ash over the top of the dye and a layer of ice. After I had the ice on the shirt, I put the container aside and allowed the ice to melt. After the ice melted, the dye had gone through pretty well. I did still have some undissolved dye left sitting on top though, so I went ahead and added some more ice. After the second layer of ice melted, I took the shirt outside to allow it to process in the heat and added just a couple more pieces of ice to some of the areas of undissolved dye. After the third layer of ice melted, I allowed the shirt to process for about 24 hours before I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water. Because I put the shirt outside for probably about 8 hours in the heat, it didn't technically need to process as long. It was probably about 90 degrees the day that I took it outside, so because it was so warm outside, I could have gotten by with allowing the shirt to process less than 24 hours after all the ice melted. However, I wanted to go ahead and just leave the shirt and allow it to process the full time. It's important to remember that your tie-dye needs to process at a temperature that's at least 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And if for some reason the space that you put your shirts in is not getting that warm, you need to leave them for longer. However, like during the summer and spring, if your shirts are getting pretty warm and you're kind of in a rush, you probably don't need to let them process the entire time. Last summer, there was some sort of a chart going around on Facebook about what the temperature was and how long the shirt needed to process to be as vibrant as possible. I haven't seen that chart for a while, but you might be able to find it out on one of the tie-dye groups on Facebook. Okay, so I started rinsing the shirt in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I untied it and warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. Like normal, I went ahead and soaked the shirt instead of just rinsing for a long time. So to do that, I ran some really hot water in my utility sink, added a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent to the water, and just allowed the shirt to soak. When the water cooled off, I changed it out, and I continued that soaking process until the water was almost clear. Then I put the shirt along with some Dharma's Professional Textile detergent into my washing machine, and I washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt has been washed and dried, and I went ahead and ironed it. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one turned out looking pretty cool. I definitely think it's a good patriotic shirt because my red and blue didn't make a whole lot of purple on this shirt. I mean, they did mix a little bit right up, in the V portion of the shirt, but for the most part, they stayed separate. And I think it looks really cool. I also like the color variation. I did just use one color up above and one color down below, but because I didn't put it on super heavy, I have some variation in the intensity of the color in the top portion and definitely in the bottom portion. I have lots of cool color splits in that bottom blue area, and there is a little bit of a purplish color split which came out of that ice dye blue. But I think the shirt looks really cool. I like the white portion that was left in that blue area as well. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good patriotic shirt? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.